For Paul, discovering that meant letting go. Letting go of things that he had thought were so important in his life. Letting go of his Jewish heritage in terms of his standing as perhaps a rabbi or a learned Jew in the community. Letting go of the things that he had thought were so important, and discovering that in letting go he found new strength. Letting go is not easy. Some things are difficult when it comes to letting go of them. Some things we must let go of. We are born to let go. We are born and come into this world, and the moment we arrive, we begin letting go. We grow up, we let go of childhood, we let go of family at some point, we move out on our own, we let go of assumptions that we have made. Some things we need to let go of. Some things we're not so certain we need to let go of because they bring such joy and pleasure. I've discovered in this illness that in a kind of abbreviated fashion, I think what we all know in life, and that is that you do let go. And sometimes we have a choice, and sometimes we don't have a choice. It's forced upon us. It comes. ALS is a diminishing disease. So you begin to lose strength. You begin to let go. And hope that you can discover in the midst of it a new kind of strength. Letting go is not easy, that is for sure. I'm not even sure that Paul plummeted the depths of how difficult it can be for people in letting go. But the word comes, my grace is sufficient for thee. Last year when I was diagnosed, I just fell off the wagon. It was so hard. I thought when I first heard, well, I can ride this, I'll be great. I remember one day getting gas after I had been diagnosed and thought, Mom, I'll master this disease. That is the height of arrogance. I was raring to go. Within 2 or 3 weeks, I was cratered. Absolutely cratered. And then last fall, long days of sleeping and being in grief over having to let go of physicality. I don't think I was ever classified as a super apostle. I would hope not. But I relied a lot on my physicality. That little short pastor down at Central, Bud, I was speaking before his people and he looked up at me and he said, "You're so tall, you know tall people are paid more than short people." I acted like I was embarrassed, but I was really pretty proud. Now there's hubris. The Greeks knew about hubris and pride. But suddenly I was letting go of so many of the things that had mattered to me. Running up and down the stairs in the morning, getting Carol coffee, breakfast in bed. Did that a long time too, don't forget that either. That's right. There was sadness, there was grief. Carol would leave me in bed and come home from school, and I'd still be in bed. God says, my grace is sufficient for thee. We need each other during the times of letting go. When I think about you, each of you, during that time, you did not let go of me. You stood by me as family, as friends. You called even when I wouldn't call back. Oh, now I'll call you 5 times a day. James says, good to have Chris back again. You would not relent. You brought dinner. You came over, took me to lunch. I hobbled to the car, almost fell on Cam Ritchie, bless her heart. She quit taking me out to lunch after that, by the way. She said, I'll bring lunch to your house. But you saw in place what it means for grace to be sufficient. I think God's grace comes to us in a myriad of ways. It's not something abstract. It comes to us. It comes to us in multiple ways, and it came to me in your friendship, in your willingness to say, this is somewhat unusual, to have a pastor who is in our midst, former pastor, who is sick, and we will not let go. And I resurrected. You know, Walter Brueggemann talks about how you can divide the Psalter into 3 divisions. The first group, he says, are the Psalms of orientation. That's when life is just grand. The last 2 years of my life before the diagnosis, I think were the happiest of my life in many ways. I was so fulfilled in being a pastor and also in working in hospice. It was just wonderful. It was a season of orientation, but Walter says then you move into what he calls the season of disorientation, where your world falls apart. Therein is the lament of the Psalms. My God, why have you forsaken me? Oh God, I am so angry. Oh God, I am hurt. Oh God, I am confused. But if you stick with it, Walter says, then you emerge into the third category, and that's the Psalm of new orientation. New orientation. Sing to the Lord a new song. That kind of cycling goes on all of life. We think we've arrived, we think we have it all under control, and sure enough, we don't. But if we stick with it, we discover that in the midst of the disorientation, the new orientation comes. When I am weak, then I am strong. I'm discovering in some ways where my new strength lies. I've now become the ambassador of goodwill to Spring Ridge Subdivision. I'm known and go on these long mega walks every day with Abraham. He's about my height and black as a spade, and I say we're ebony and ivory. We walk around the neighborhood, we greet people. You know, the other day I was coming out of Lake Forest and I pulled up in the driveway of a woman. It's a woman that I've only waved at for 20 years. I jogged that route almost every day. It was only 2 or 3 weeks ago, because I slowed down and am in this wheelchair, that I pulled up into her driveway and she just poured out her heart, and we met. Her name's Susan, and her cat had just been killed and run over, and we listened, and Abraham and I consoled, and I found a new parish. I have Spring Ridge. I can be a parish minister to Spring Ridge Subdivision. Another neighbor that I hadn't talked to for over a year was in his front yard. What are you up to? Well, I'm real sad. And he talked about this and that, and he said, you know, we divorced last year. I said, didn't know that. Had no idea. We talked for 15 minutes. Haven't talked to this guy a year, and as I'm getting ready to leave, he says, I love you, man. I said, I love you too. I don't know, I certainly don't want to trivialize, but I do think there's something to be said there about new strength is found in the weakness. You discover new things. You begin to allow God to be God. We're not here to do anthropology, we're here to do theology this morning. For those of us who have sought to be in control, and that would be every one of us, we discover that in the end, it is God who is at the center. It is God who enlivens us to live with grace in this world. Perhaps that is why Jesus sent those disciples out that Melissa read about, 2 by 2, but charged them saying, don't take anything but a staff or a cane. Don't take money, don't take a purse, don't take an extra tunic. You go out and you show up and you proclaim. If they receive you, fine. If not, be on your way. There is a vulnerability there. There is that sense in which Jesus is saying, I'm not calling you to be super apostles. I'm calling you to be a faithful disciple. Oh, these are vulnerable times, but they're so exciting. We remember today the congregation of Crystal Cathedral. May they thrive. They hope they can. There are no Schulers left in the congregation. It's going to be tough for them. We remember our own congregation, how exciting to be the beloved community on the move and in transition, and realizing we don't have to control it all. For our strength is found in our vulnerability. Amen.